Hello students, Namaskar, welcome to Career 360. Now that the JEE Main exam is over, it's very important for you to understand what scores would get you what percentile and what rank. And trust me, many commentators and experts have missed this big point that the score that you had last year and the kind of percentile you got based on the score would not remain the same this year because the pattern of the examination this year is dramatically different as compared to what it was last year. You students know that the choice-based questions are no longer there, which essentially means that you need to answer every single question that comes in, even a numerical, without a choice. Let me explain to you how, over the past 5 years, how the data behaved and at what score, what percentile you can expect and at what percentile, what rank you can expect. Let me take you through the data at this point in time. Last year, in 2024, the total number of students who appeared in Jan session registered by 12.21 lakh and appeared was 11.7 lakh. This year, the students who appeared is 13 lakh, which essentially means that we are actually dealing with a 11% increase in the number of students who actually took the Jan test. If you have to go by the same trend, you will be dealing with about 15 lakh students who will be competing for the same, for the IIT and NIT seats or getting a percentile based on that. And remember, your percentile depends not on just your performance, but on how many students actually appeared for the test and how many students actually got a particular score. So let me explain through data of how the score versus percentile change as you move between Jan and April session. Within the session of a Jan session, how the scores work and how the percentage also changed dramatically. Right? Look at, and this is a student who got 99 percentile. 99 percentile in the JEE Mains of 2024. So we're talking of last year. And both January session we're talking of, and we're also talking of April session. In January session, for the student who got 99 percentile, in shift 1 it was 236 marks is what he got out of 300. In shift 2 it was 211. And then in day 2 it was 202 and 212 and so on and so forth, right? 183, 191. Now if you look at it, a student who got 99 percentile, in day 1 shift 1 was 236 and the lowest went down to 151. This was on day 4 on the shift 2. So a variance of 85 marks and you still got the same percentile. This is what happened last time. And this was criticized a lot by experts and faculty and students and parents and everyone. So by April session, which is after Jan, you actually have the April. Many of you would also be appearing for that. My request to you is please appear for the April session also. Don't give it up, right? Now, when you went to the April session, in shift 1 it was 192, it was 99 percentile. Shift 2 was 200 percentile, 200. And 187 and 210 and all, right? So, if you look at it, the highest was 215, right? And the lowest was 186. 215 and 186. Here the variation came down dramatically to 29 marks only. 29 marks. Here the variation is 85 marks. Right. Now this variation has come down dramatically because people criticize saying how can you actually have such variance in terms of the difficulty level of the paper that students can't compare between themselves, right? Now, but remember this, it is very important for you to understand that it's not just about how you scored, but how others scored also, which is what determines the percentile, overall percentile. You might be actually having a 99 percentile in your thing, but by the time you move to the overall structure, it might be slightly different because many more people join into the whole thing. So it is not just about your score, but how within the session, how the other students do. That also is very, very important, right? So understand that it's not just your score, but how the other students do within that shift, which determines your percentile, and that is very important for you, right? Let us talk about the JEE marks range percentage as it happened last year versus 2020. Why are we comparing with 2020? Because we are comparing 2020 and 2024. Now, 24, you actually had the choice of the 25 questions in each subject. 5 were numerical or subjective, in which you actually had 10 questions of which you must choose only 5 to answer them. But in 2020, that facility was not there. You have 75 questions and 75 answers that you must be given. There was no choice, no options. Every single question had to be attempted. Now, obviously, when you have a choice, the students scored higher marks. And we all know that. In each of the subject, for numerical questions, you had 10 questions of which 5 you were answering in 21, 22, 23 and 24, 4 years. In 2020, you had all questions and every question had to be answered. Now, if you look at the rank range, that also shows how the shift has happened, right? And we're talking about the overall range here. When you look at the overall range, in 2020, at 99 percentile, you're getting a score between 170 to 190. This was in 2020 when there was no choice. But when there was choice that was given, it was 151 and 236. You look at the highest score, 236 versus 190. At 98 percentile, it was 154 and 194. At 97 percentile, it was 135 and 181. At 95 percentile, it was 99 and 173. So across the board, if you notice this, there is a score inflation that happened in 24, and a similar thing would have happened in 23 and 22 by at least decent number of marks, because those 15 questions that you had, where you had more options, you had 30 questions, of which you can select only 15 questions to answer, would obviously give you a higher score, higher mark, and that will determine this whole thing. So in 2020, when there was no choices, you look at the kind of score that you had, 170 to 190 for 99 percentile, across shifts we are talking about. Here is 136 to 154 for 98 percentile, and so on and so forth. But here, at every level, if you notice, no, it's not just the highest score. You look at the lowest score also, 151 versus 130, right? 164 and 136, 150 and 170. Everywhere it changed. Now, this is very important for you to understand, because this year, even at a lower score, you're likely to get a higher percentile, because students will not be able to get full scores as they did last year. People will not be able to get the subjective questions all correct as they got last year, because there is no choice and there is no preference that the student has to take the examination score. Right? And most importantly, when you drop a percentile, let's assume for a moment that you actually have 15 lakh students taking the examination, right? So at 99 percentile, you'll get 15,000 rank. 15,000 rank. At 99.9 percentile, you'll get 1,500 rank. And at 99.99 percentile, you'll get 150 rank. Right? This is very important for you to understand. This depends, obviously, when you say 50,000 students have got it, 99 percentile, which means there are 15,000 students who are above you at 99 percentile. Similarly, when you talk of 99.9 percentile, it means more than 1,500 students have got 99.9 percentile and above 1,500 students. And same thing. So it depends on how many people perform better than you. And we're talking at every percentile level. This obviously depends on the score that they got in a particular shift and the percentile that they got in a particular shift, and normalize it across the system. So you must understand one thing, that this year would be different because you don't have the choices that you were exercised earlier. And the percentile depends on different shifts. This year also we had 10 shifts that we had last few years also. So across the 10 shifts, you actually have to normalize the whole thing. But typically what I suggest is, this year there'll be some kind of a score deflation, and to that extent a rank inflation. And that is very clear for me as we go ahead. How do we deal with this entire thing? So Career 360 developed a rank predictor. You put your score, it gets your percentile. You put your percentile, it gets your rank. And there's a simple tool that we created based on an algorithm that we created at the back end, which factored in all these things that I just now talked about. Now, it's an indication, mind you. Obviously, when you get your scorecard 10 days down the line, you will actually get the correct percentile in your hand. But this is indicative of what it's likely to be. And let me explain it to you here. Right? So, what I opened is, you can please search for Career 360 Rank Predictor. And you will be able to get this product out. It will be there on Google or any other platform. You can come to Career 360 also and look for that. Now, if you put a score, right? Let's assume that I put a score of 200. Right? And the exam, I need to select whether it's shift 1 or whatever it is. This tool is normalizing everything, mind you. Select paper difficulty level. Difficult, I'm saying it's moderate with difficult. And entire application number, whatever it is, optional. When you predict my rank, it predicts my rank based on the score that I bought. It says my percentile would be, if you now notice this, it says that my percentile would be between 99.65 to 99.73%. And based on that, and according to the experts, your shift 1 was moderate and your overall percentile is 99.5 percentile to 99.58 percentile. Here we're collecting information. Here we are talking of averaging everything that we got as a response and giving it back to you. Now, based on this, you actually can get into you will understand the kind of rank that you'll get. The other way you can deal with it is you don't get into the score, but you put in a percentile and you say my percentile is 98%. So you actually from the score you got a percentile, now you start using the percentile also, right? When you do that, and asks you to predict a rank, it predicts a rank saying that based on the percentile of 98 percentile that you talked of, that rank is likely to be between 27,736 to 28,868. Based on this, we also have a product called college predictor. You can use this college rank to search for the kind of colleges that you'll get and the kind of branches that you'll get based on the rank that you got here. So the more detailed thing is one is to understand how the normalization works, how the shifts work, how the percentile works, or two is a simpler way of just going and using the rank predictor, understanding what your percentile would be, what your rank would be, and using the college predictor to understand which colleges are likely to get you into admission at what course. I just hope this helps you. If you have any questions, please write in the comment below, and I'll be more than happy to take it up and respond back to you as we move along. But this is very important for you to understand that this year would be dramatically different as compared to last year because the pattern of the examination has changed. The choices that you had when you were taking the exam were no longer there as it was there last year. So to that extent, the score deflation would happen, and to that extent, rank inflation also will happen. I hope this helped you. Thank you so much. Namaskar.